Hey church, I'm Kelly.
I'm Martin.
And we are live here today on the ELCA Young Adult Facebook page. We're coming live from Wartburg Theological Seminary in Dubuque, Iowa, where I'm a student and I have a professor here with me today.
I teach church history here.
He does, and he's a really good professor, but don't tell him that. No. We don't want it to go to his head. Yeah. So church history, and you were also a pastor.
I am a pastor. I've served churches in Ohio and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so I'm so excited that he can be here with me today to talk about No Plastics for Lent for our second week of this Lenten series. Last week I was on with Lars, a fellow student here at Wartburg, and we were talking about quick and easy lifestyle swaps to reduce our usage of single-use plastics. And the Facebook stories that came out of that were so awesome. I saw people talking about swaps that they were making in their own lives, saw people share these videos. We had people filling out pledge commitments for the season of Lent. Do you know what? We had people commit from every single region in the ELCA, and we even had people writing commitments from Rwanda, Berlin, Hungary. So this is clearly something that matters locally and internationally, which is awesome. Today, we are talking about sustainability in congregations. Now, when we say congregations, we first think of churches, and of course, we are talking about churches, but this definition is broader than that. We are talking about nonprofits, seminaries, universities, camps, wherever you are. That's the context that we are talking about today. And this really matters to who we are as Lutherans, which is why we are grounding it in the conversation about congregations. So our resident church historian, why does this matter? What does this have to do with our Lutheran identity?
Because we believe in God. God is the creator. As you can find out in your app, if you have the Small Catechism on your phone, God's the creator and everything good comes from the Lord. And Luther writes, you know, if we really believed this, we'd treat the world as the holy thing that it is and not misuse it. So that's in our DNA as Lutherans, to care about the creation and also to care about the people with us in creation. That when we pray for daily bread, we're praying for everybody who delivers the bread, bakes the bread, grows the food, has fair weights and measures so you're not getting cheated at the grocery store. We're all part of daily bread together. So we got some really deep sources as people of faith.
Yes, absolutely. So we see that our spirit, our service, it all goes together. Now, as we think about this, we want to acknowledge that the framework that we enter from is really important. We all enter in at a certain place, and we acknowledge that we have room to grow. So wherever we are, we're looking for the next step, the next right step. So in today's video, I really challenge you to think about where you are currently and where and how you can build and go from there. And also, we want to remember that this is a Lenten series, No Plastics for Lent, but it's not just about Lent.
Every day.
Every day.
All of our lives.
Like,
we're part of this. Yeah.
all of our lives, all the days. So starting small and building big. So Martin, start us off. What can we be doing in our context, whatever our congregation looks like?
Well, a cool thing about focusing on congregations is this is, you know, there's individual change, but then there's also change that groups can make, which also then becomes very impactful. One thing churches can do is, you know, maybe you have individual communion cups. Mine is glass, so reusable, not plastic. If you have plastic, maybe wash it and reuse anyways, even though it's plastic. And we
can wash plastic and reuse it.
You can.
Yes, that's such a good thing. It's a good reminder.
Yeah. The practice for most of Christian history has been a common cup. Around 100 years ago, people in North America got the idea maybe we shouldn't be drinking out of the same cups. It's actually hands that communicate more germs, so actually little cups, there's a lot more hand contact, so it's maybe not as sanitary as people think anyways.
Interesting.
But if you're going to do it, wash them and reuse. So that's a good way to be community together, to care. It's a cool thing to be the person who pours, to be somebody who cleans up afterwards. So there's community built in to even cleaning, and not just chucking something that'll be in the landfill after that. So that's one thing. When it comes to church events, You having a potluck? Maybe invite people to bring their own dishes. Plates, silverware, cups. My family has an easy travel backpack. And so when there's a potluck, we have plates and stuff, and we then put the dirty stuff in a separate section.
Yes.
And you can wash it later.
So like rather than using paper plates or styrofoam, plastic silverware, inviting people to bring their own, which is such a good solution if your church doesn't have enough dishes or like the capacity to wash all the dishes after a big event. I know at Wartburg, we've been playing with this a little bit. We've been shifting into more sustainable practices. And so moving away from using the styrofoam and the plastic.
No styrofoam.
Yeah, so can you tell us about what we're doing here at Wartburg in our dining hall?
Well, we, for regular meals, have, dishes and silverware. And then when we have a lot of people and big events, we've committed to compostable utensils and plates and cups. So it's still single use, but it's also then going to decompose and become ground again instead of being a landfill and not return to dust. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes,
right?
Compost to compost.
Compost to compost, because plastic can't return.
That's right.
Yeah, plastic can't return to the earth. It just stays there. Those are really, really great tips. And building onto this, we want to remember to not purchase single-use plastics when we can avoid it. Now, before I get into this further, I want to acknowledge that there can be accessibility issues at play here. So it's really important to enter into this piece with an awareness of your context and the needs of the people you serve. So if it's possible, you can think about limiting things like straws. Plastic straws. Like my children love to use straws. They really, really enjoy them. But when we're out, because my children don't need the straws, I remind them, do you need that? And then they'll be like, no, I don't need it. So we'll put it back. And in that way, we can save those resources for people who do need them.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to think about. And you also mentioned, did you mention coffee mugs?
I haven't yet, but I was going to.
Coffee mugs. So
mugs.
Coffee hour.
Coffee hour. It's a cool thing for a church to have a bin full of coffee mugs. And it doesn't take long to clean up some coffee mugs. And in fact, you get to have your favorites. People bring in their own.
Yes.
I've been using travel coffee mugs since I was in high school. I can't imagine how many paper cups and other
You've saved
coffee
so
mugs.
many. I think about the plastic lids or the plastic stirrers, right? When you don't have to buy those things, that is such a reduction in waste, which is awesome. Again, if it makes sense for your people and your context. And then, I have gotten a lot of questions from people about what do we do if we have the stockpile of the plastic or the styrofoam? And definitely, as we said before, use what you have, wash what you can, and don't buy more.
Yeah. You can even donate it to a place if you don't want to use it yourself. But
yeah.
Just have a no buying new plastic, single-use stuff policy. No styrofoam. It's not too hard. Sometimes people think it's more expensive, but it's also expensive to have landfills and be polluting. So
And there's a real human cost there.
Yes.
Cost to people, to communities, to the world, to the environment. Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about trash and the fact that plastic does not return to the earth. I know that you and your family, you guys are really devoted recyclers and composters. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that could look like in our congregations?
Yeah. First, to just have visible recycle bins. When I'm a visitor at a church, it's nice to know I can look and see they're recycling the paper for the bulletins. That makes me feel like, these are people who care.
Yes.
So visible recycle bins so that anybody coming in can say, that's where that goes. So it can be recycled rather than go in the trash.
Yes.
Composting is a great thing to do as individuals. It depends on where you live, what kind of programs are available, or if you have a garden where compost can be useful. But here in Dubuque, we have a city composting program, and so we do that as a family. I know my church is working on composting as a church.
Yes.
So it can happen. You take these steps, and it's a good thing to learn, and it feels good to be part of something that's making the world slightly cleaner, healthier, organicer.
Yeah.
Rather than
Can
just...
professors say things like that?
Yeah.
Organicer?
You get to a certain level, you just make up the words. Yeah.
Yes, that's what the PhD confers upon you. Yes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned our specific rules here in Dubuque. So around this issue, I would definitely encourage you to research what the rules are for you. 'Cause here, like, we have certain things that we can recycle, that we can't. Somebody posted in the comments last week about being able to recycle soft plastics at their grocery stores, which super awesome, right? But it's a little bit different everywhere. So do a quick Google search and see what's available in your area. So now I want to kind of expand this understanding of sustainability that we're talking about. We are members of the Sustainability Task Force here at Wartburg, and we approach sustainability from a few different perspectives. One, we're looking at sustainable practices for the earth, yet we're also looking at what it means to be sustainable people as participants in God's mission in the world. So we need to make sure that we are working for the sustainability of personal health and wellness, because ultimately healthy leaders are going to create healthier communities, and healthier communities hopefully will be able to serve the gospel better.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really important. And so when I think about serving communities, I really think about accessibility. I think about ways to be inclusive, rather than just acting out of what is best for a privileged majority. So this includes things about, like, how accessible are our meals? How hospitable are we, right? Like, when people come in, is it a safe place for them? Do they know what to do or where to go? If it's communion, are they secure in knowing that if they're gluten-free or they have other dietary needs, that they will be provided for? So along these lines, I really encourage congregations in context to think about how we are serving people with special needs, and how we're making aspects of our daily life together good and safe and holy for all people.
Yeah. I like to think if I were a visitor here, and sometimes I am the visitor, would I feel like this is a place that cares about me? Would I feel like this is a place that is welcoming, a place where if I have a question, I know who to ask? Just a place like, can I imagine myself being here? So that's always a good check, is say, if I were new here, what would I see?
Because that will bring people back, which will make our communities more sustainable. In the long run.
And it's easy to get bummed out when things don't go our way, or the task is so daunting, or get burned out because you've tried some things. And to that, again, so since my job is Lutheran theology and history, Martin Luther did say, you have to take care of yourself so that you can be a leader for the long term, so you can be somebody who's a person who has some resource, some strength, for the sake of somebody else.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Like they say on the airplane, put on your own mask first, and then you can help the person next to you.
Yeah.
That's kind of true in life. How's it going inside? And that's part of how we'll be sharing a sustainable lifestyle together, instead of burning out each other.
Right. Yeah. So thinking about protecting the earth, protecting each other, all for the sake of the gospel. These are really important parts of the conversation.
Yeah. Caring about our neighbors one day at a time, hopefully for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, hopefully. Absolutely. So now that we've been talking about these different pieces, I encourage you to think about what's next for you, for your context, for your people. So my dream is that this thread can become like a resource bank for people, because we just introduce like some basic things, things that are important and are really good first steps, but also your congregation you may be doing other things. I heard from a few of my classmates who are currently on internship about really incredible things that they're doing around, like partnering with local farmers, around compost, around community organizing efforts. Those are all things that connect with sustainability. So drop your comments, your suggestions, your ideas, your resources in these comments, and then we can all come to this to be inspired, to reach out to each other, because ultimately we really are better when we're doing things together, when we aren't having to reinvent the wheel. So let's share those things down below. ELCA Young Adult is also going to again share the pledge commitment form, so you can click on that. It's a Google form. It's really easy. It's confidential, and you can write in your pledge for during Lent, and as we said, beyond Lent. Because Lent is about a journey, about repentance, about making a shift to be more faithful, so that we can be closer to our God who created us and loves us. And so this is a part of that. So Martin, thanks for being here with me.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been super fun. And we all have a new word, organicer, to add to our lexicon, which is very exciting. So thank you, and thank you all for being here. And we wish you a wonderful week and can't wait to hear what you have to say in the comments. Bye.
Bye.